to the Comcast Business Voice Edge Conferencing Center. Please enter the conference ID followed by the pound key. You have entered an incorrect Welcome to the Comcast Business Voice Edge Conferencing Center. Please enter the conference ID followed by the pound key. Thank you. If you are the leader, press the star now. Please enter your PIN followed by the pound key. You have entered an incorrect PIN. Please try again. Please enter your PIN followed by the pound key. You have entered an incorrect PIN. Please try again. Please enter your PIN followed by the pound key. Goodbye.
Well, I usually, when I send the bill, you usually send something got
Oh, yeah, you're right, I was
it,
distracted.
and you didn't. And then I was looking over the handouts and I didn't see that.
Yeah, it's the very, very last thing.
I thought maybe you forgot.
No. I know that you're coming and I expect to give you a check, so I always get permission to pay out of cycle if it's out of cycle. Oh, you don't even have a chair.
That's
I'll
all right.
have to fire my assistant.
Who wants this lot addition stuff?
We're on camera.
Huh?
I said we're on camera. I'd rather not talk about it.
Oh.
But I'll set a meeting and hopefully get it done in a week or so. It's coming from planning, our planning in Adams County. It just needs to be.
I'm really not looking forward to another meeting,
I
to
know.
be honest
That's
with
fine. Well, we'll get to the bottom of it and everybody will just get on the same page. Well, we all got on the same page as you last time, so. We'll figure it out. Good evening.
you. Good evening.
Ladies and gentlemen,
I do. Hello. I do.
What the hell? Who's here?
Are you
I
sure, Sue? We're live.
must have left earlier, I don't know.
Good golf.
You look like you've been out there in the sun.
Yeah.
we're at a golf course, playing a little golf.
Oh, you work? Where do you got, which one?
I'm
Ridge, I go over and
Cedar Ridge. Is that on Barlow's 2 Tavern Road? I played there a couple times.
yeah, I just started there, helping out, I only go about 3-4 hours a week. I go over on Tuesdays and, run the machine around in the sand traps.
That's a nice little course. That's a nice little course. I like it because it's, you can walk, and we always walk. And, it gets a little wet at times.
The last one coming back in, there's an area, oh my gracious. You're up past the crossroads here. It's still sunny.
Yeah.
I hit a drive and went right into that middle of that spot. There was 4 of us. We watched the ball, it hit the ground, it floated, and we never did find the ball. Right in the middle of the barrel.
Well, under the new rules, you can, if you did find it, although I think even if you didn't find it, if it's plugged, I think you don't have to play it as plugged. I'm not sure about in the rough, but I know in the fairway, if plug the ball, you can move it. Obviously, the sand trap, you can't move it.
Well, they have some leagues over there. You know, this league played last night, and one of the guys that works in the pro shop
Alright, thank you.
was telling me that the lady who runs the league is telling me now, the sand traps are wet and you don't have to play. So think about the sand trap. One of the guys says, well,
Well, see, if there's water in the trap, I'm not sure what the rule is if a trap is completely filled with water.
oh, they were just wet. They
Yeah, no, right, you gotta play.
That was good. It wasn't great, but it was okay.
My boys are pretty good golfers, they know all the rules.
I learned something new every day.
Yeah.
Was Shelly there today?
No. What's her last name? Wheeler?
Yeah, the one hole that gets me on that course is number 10.
You just might as well poke it out there about 100 yards.
Yeah. I pull out of 7 woods, I still hit it too far. It goes flat down that hill.
I had a wonderful day
Well,
with Gordon. You, it was
The next hole, that was short over the.
Oh, yeah, that's like a pitching wedge.
Yeah.
That's
I don't mind.
60 yards.
Yeah, I don't mind that one. But that
Yeah,
10,
I had a
like,
class over in Hershey all day.
Yeah,
Class. Boring. Morning here.
Mr. Lunch.
Good day. No lunch, no breakfast, no coffee, no nothing. anything along? I had a cup of coffee, it was half gone by the time I got there.
Hi, Brandon. Fine, how are you? How's work? Oh, you're a Ford. I thought you worked for Chrysler.
I do work for Chrysler.
What do you drive? Oh, geez. And I got a Dodge, so what's that telling me?
They only,
What's that?
they only work on the Vincent.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
Where you been? Here.
I kind of agree with that. I think Ford's the best. I pick up trucks. I think Ford's been the best for 50 years.
Not really. How is it?
I'm here.
Aren't you bring out there a while?
Last time I went to buy one, you couldn't get any deal on a Ford.
Yeah,
Mark up.
that's crazy.
Yeah. On the
Why is
brand,
that
I
low?
think we get a pretty decent deal. It's the first one I ever bought. So far, it's good.
Right.
I'll be here next week though. Oh, was that it? I'll text you.
All right, we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order at 6, well, that says 6:01. Which one's right, that one or my clock?
I think it's 5:59.
Wait one more minute. All right, Rob, hey, Mr. Arnold, here's the people in Mr. Township. Make sure I said your name right, Hendricks? Is it?
Herrick,
Harry.
that's my name, this is Francesca Tomato.
Okay, Francesca, they, at the new property on, Old Waynesburg, like bridge.
Oh, okay.
I think they just, took possession on, April 8th, is that correct?
April 1.
Oh, April 1st.
Yeah, you're between the stop sign and the bridge there.
Yes, on the left.
Yeah.
This is Bobby and Brandon and Mr. Whitfield back here. Wendy, you probably talked to before. All right, let's stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. Can I have roll call, please?
Mr. Barlow?
Here.
Mr. Cowell?
Here.
Mr. Lowe?
Here.
All right, we have Bill Jacobs here with us tonight from the Fairfield Fire Department. He's the chief of the fire department. Asked him to come because we have a couple of things we wanted to address, and we wanted to have him here about with that. The first one is, we had a resident that asked about, if we thought it was necessary to put a dry hydrant in down here at the pond on Topper. My question to you, Bill, is how often do we use a dry hydrant and the expense for a dry hydrant?
Okay, well, I got all that.
Cool.
The big thing is, everything in the fire service is kinda, it's like, we can't call and say, hey, I got a big fire, I need to get a fire truck that will work.
Right.
I mean, that's kind of where we're at. You need the stuff available, and you can't say how many times you used it, because sometimes, it's just like, we haven't had many house fires, actually in Liberty Township. So we had a real bad one here, and so that kind of said, oh, we need something. To tell you the truth, you have one dry hydrant in Liberty at the Alexander Farm, and we have used that for other fires. We've used the pond there at the old Topper house, at Orchard and Topper. We've used that pond before. And really, the thing is about dry hydrants, we have to maintain them every year. We have to pump them and flush them every year, which right now we're in the process of getting all the hydrants in our fire territory, flushing them and testing them, make sure they're working. So that's what we're doing now at the weather's getting. Every spring we do that to make sure that it's all right. The big thing is access to the pond. And you have to put a driveway in, because our trucks are 20 to 25 tons. And wet ground, and that doesn't work very well. So I have a price. Now this is just for the head, which it's an elbow, and it has a nail thread on it, 6-inch nail thread, National Fire Standard, and a cap, and then the strainer that goes inside the pond at the end of a 6-inch pipe, PVC pipe. So, and then there's a bracket that you have to drive down in the pond bank, in the pond bottom to hold this thing up so it's up off the ground, off the pond bank. So that's $545 for just that. That's no excavation, no extra pipe. You're probably talking, at least 40 feet, 30 to 40 feet of 6-inch PVC pipe that you'll have to use, depending on where the pond is and where, how the pond is made. You're gonna have to be you gotta be 2 foot from the top of the water, and you should be about that off the bottom, so you're not sucking stuff up. And what happens if you're not 2 feet inside, it creates a whirlpool, and then it pulls air down, and then you can't pump. So, down at this pond, it would be nice to have like a loop put in there, and because a lot of fire trucks do have front suctions, but they don't get as much water out. So if everybody has a midship pump to get there, so you have to pull in that you can get the truck, around 10 feet away from the pond at the longest, the longest area there, that you could pull in, and you could drive the truck around and get it there, and throw the hard sleeves in it and get your water.
So you only use one section of 10-foot hoses to
Well,
suck off the hydrant?
Well, we're going to use 20 feet because you have to be out in the pond. So,
off the truck to the hydrant.
well, if there's a hydrant there, yes, you're only using one section of hard sleeve.
Yeah.
If you're pumping on, just like Alexander's there, if you look at that one.
Right, yeah. And that sits right on the road, so you don't even have to pad.
Yeah, so that one, we can actually stay on the road and pump off of that one. So the big thing is getting access to our trucks so we can get in. The only thing that you have a detriment about throwing a hard sleeve in is if there's ice on the pond. Then you have to cut a hole in it. So most fire trucks have a chainsaw in, so you go out in the ice, cut a hole, and stick it in underneath the ice. There's a lot in neighboring companies, there's a lot of dry hydrants in there that just don't work.
Yeah, I drove around Carroll Valley and looked at the hydrants that they have.
So all Carroll Valleys are functional, except at Ski Liberty, the one at McLeaf Lane, doesn't work right now. The valve is stuck. That's a little different system. If the pump's on from Tom's Creek, there's a 16-inch pipe that runs up to the pond, and it can fill it that way. Or if the pond's not empty up there, it backfeeds down, and like there at the old bank, that dry hydrant there, we can get 1,250 gallons a minute out of that dry hydrant.
Okay.
So, and it depends on how they were put in, how much pipe is in, how much water you can get out of a dry hydrant. Because sometimes they have too many elbows on it, or too long a pipe, you can only get 750, 800 gallons a minute out of it. But for tanking water, that's not bad, if we're actually hauling water to the fire scene, which the big problem is we have in this area, the roads are narrow, and you really have to make a loop so your trucks aren't passing one another.
Right. Now, I would think that we would have to, if we went forward with trying to do something like this, we're gonna have to get some type of release from the landowner,
Yeah,
some type of agreement, and have it drawn up, and then we have to design the driveway off of their property.
yeah, well, and that's the thing, you're gonna have to get approval from the homeowners. And like I said, I mean, like I'd say, if you wanna put out something in your newsletter or out there, that if anybody wants us to evaluate their ponds, that, we could do that and see if we can, I mean, we look at some of them and, we know we can get to them. And kind of have them in the back of our mind and try to pick the closest pond that's around. That one, I mean, usually that's so growed up there, I was amazed that was open there whenever we got there. I mean, it was kind of, man, this is perfect.
Yeah, because I don't know how many ponds we have in actually Ridley Township.
Well, there's a lot. I mean, whenever we got our boat, there's like 500 acres of waterways in our 45 square miles of territory. So I mean, there's a lot of ponds around. A lot of, well, okay, so the pond at the corner of Brent Road and Track Road,
Right.
that one usually is unusable because it's all algaed up.
Right.
And whenever summer comes, that's totally green. So we'd never be able to pump water out of that because our suction lines would get fouled up doing that. So you have to, I mean, it has to be a good clear pond, for us to suck water out
Well,
of
see,
it.
well, I don't want to drink a shell, but, so that would be on the landowner, because I know they make chemicals to keep the pond
Well,
cleaned up.
see, and that's the problem. All this would be on the landowner, or if the township would wanna, do the roadway or anything, and that's the thing about it. Now, years ago, whenever I first started in the fire service, there was an old wives' tale about that a person couldn't stop it, the fire company from taking water from them because it was safe water. Well, over the years we found out that was a wives' tale. It's not true. I've used it a couple of times and got away with it. Mostly is whenever you tell them, if you don't let us use water for your neighbor, we will not pump water out of this if your house is on fire. So we've done that a few times over the years. But the big thing is, if you want to put something out in the township, if you want your pond, or tell us about a pond, because sometimes we don't know where every pond is. I mean, we have pretty good ideas, but sometimes they're back a lane or something that you can't see, or you don't know about until you're there. And it's always nice to know that and have that in the back of your mind, because there's something available there.
I can add that to my monthly letter that I put out in the journal next month, just asking if residents are interested. If they are, you can contact the township, you can contact the fire department.
Yeah, well, I just say, why don't they contact you guys, and then we can, you can give me the list and we can go. And then it does have, I mean, there has to be, I think your solicitor would have to have some type of agreement that we can use that. I'm not exactly sure how.
Just an easement agreement.
Yeah, or something that we have access to it. Because I know there's, years ago we thought there's protections for the fire company, but apparently there isn't. And then just like if we chew the place up or something, trying to get into a pond or anything, we usually come back or get somebody to come and fill holes in, or a lot of times the landowners said, don't worry about it, I know what you're doing, and
Right.
you were trying to do the best you could at that point in time. Because we've buried fire trucks before. I mean, it's, I've done several times over my career that we buried them trying to get in to ponds so we could get them for for that.
Okay.
And then, well, one other thing which I brought up at the municipal meeting, this with a couple other municipalities, and I'd like to actually try to get signs, a blue reflective sign that says Fire Department Draft Site, that they would be, that we could put at even the ponds that are available. Because a lot of times, you know, it's not us, or it might not be Emmitsburg, you know, people that's familiar with the area. It's like Barlow was the next engine that was available that pumped out of the pond there.
Right.
So, you know, so it's not always, you know, the local people. I know we had that fire in Freedom Township on Bullfrog, and we used the creek there up above the Ken Fireballs. They're on the sharp turn there. We use that.
You can't pull water from the creek?
Oh
there?
yeah, that's where we got water for that big garage fire in Freedom Township. So I mean that's the kind of stuff that I'd like to put a sign out. So right now there's at least 4 or 5 areas, you know, in your township that we could put signs out. We know right now that are good water sources, and then you know they know that that's where you can get water. And
Well, that shouldn't be too difficult.
so, but you need a 2-sided sign, I guess, so you can, you know, so it reflects on both ways
Right.
for that. So that's one of my suggestions that we were thinking about, you know, down, you know, to get everybody knowledgeable, because like I said, it's not always the local fire companies that are actually doing the drafting. A lot of times we're, you know, trying to get the fire put out, and you know, it's the other companies coming in that are going to be drafting, setting up tanker fills and that sort of stuff.
Okay. All right. Other question I have for you. We had a resident last month ask about putting fire hydrants into along the roadways and the water tower. You wanna?
Well, that's, you know, the problem is, I mean, it comes down to what you said, how many times do we use them? You know, I'm just trying to think back. You know, I think the last big fire we had was at Lawrence's, whenever his fire processor caught on fire. I think that was the last big, you know, fire that we had to tank water from, and we tanked that from Alexander's.
Right.
So, you know, the problem is, if you're putting a water system in, that would be great. But if you're just doing it for fire protection, it's kind of a lot of money for what the bank, you know, what you get. I know a lot of times what happens is, and I get calls all the time about people buying property and says, where's the nearest fire hydrant? Well, I said, there's some in Fairfield, but I can only get 700 gallons of water out of that, one in Fairfield Borough at a time. So I said, we don't fight fires with fire hydrants. I said, we fight fires, we have over 5,000 to 7,000 gallons of water coming on the first alarm, and usually we can put the fire out with that kind of water. Now, if it's well past, if it's up through the roof and burning, yeah, we're going to need a pile of water and put it out. And it all depends. It's like the fire on top of the road, we fought that fire for over 4 hours. If it would have been a house that was built in the last 5 years, it would have been gone in 4 hours. And that's, you know, I've been pushing some of these newer developments and trying to get them to put sprinklers in, to require sprinklers, because and they're putting them like 10 feet apart, and they just burn like kindling.
Right.
I mean, and that's, we lost a firefighter in the area in Frederick County.
Right.
One of those, the lightweight construction houses, they fell through the floor and then died. So, I mean, we're up for the newer construction, you know, we're up against a lot of problems, because actually they're saying within 15 minutes of fire in a house, it's you can't go inside. It's that unsafe. There will be no floor in it,
Right.
or the roof will collapse on you. So we're fighting fire a little bit different.
You're talking about the new construction.
Yeah, new construction. These at the 70s, even the 90s, even getting into the end of the 90s, those houses that were built with 2 to 10 floor joists and rafters and that sort of stuff, yeah, they'll be like this. You can fight a fire hours in the house safely. But the new ones, you got about 15, 20 minutes.
Are they not putting fire blocks in?
That's not the problem, which I could have, if I was going to get into this. If you know what an I-joist is, if they're putting in houses now, it's a piece of 1/2-inch OSB with two 2-inch square pieces of plywood in there. So it's very strong until it's compromised. Once it's compromised, it's worthless.
Right.
So if a fire burns in and takes the top or bottom cord out, it's worthless. It's going to collapse. So I mean that's the problem with the new construction, the new lightweight construction that you have. But you know the older houses, you know, some of these 150, 200-year-old houses, you could fight fire in them all day and you wouldn't really be in any real danger for that.
All right, then, Bobby, you have any questions for the fire chief?
No, not till we get in. I have some thoughts here,
But like I said, you'd have to get approval from, you know, landowner if they're willing to do it, and if you guys are willing to spend the money. And I don't know if the grit mill would even give you basis. I know they're selling aggregate. They might even, if you say you're building a dry hydrant for fire protection, they might even donate the, you know, the aggregate for it.
But the $545, that's for the hydrant, the dry hydrant.
That's just for a head and the suction line. That
Right.
doesn't count for
It's
the
like it
pipe
goes on the pond.
you need to put in the pond, or the base, because you're still gonna have to put a base in for us to get the fire truck to it.
Right, and that's the driveway you're talking about.
Yeah, the driveway, and you know, it's nice if we can get alongside of it, because like I said, we can hump. Every truck has a midship pump. A lot of them in rural areas has a front suction,
Right.
but the thing is, it doesn't get as much water out because there's so many bends and stuff in it. It doesn't pump the volumes of water that you can get out of midship.
So you have any questions for the chief?
So can you get fire trucks back in the Rich Trail development? Because I'm being told that you can.
Well, we can get fire trucks in,
Yeah.
but the problem is the road's only a one-way road, and the tank water in there, you're gonna have to lay line and pump it back, or we're just gonna pile fire trucks up and daisy chain the water. And that's the problem. The roads are real narrow there, and I mean, I've said for years that it's a very dangerous development back in there because all the wooded areas and the terrain. And I mean, we've had a few fires back, nothing, you know, major, but we've had a few fires back in there, but it's just access. And there's no real loop to get around. You know, the water would be there on Bullfrog. That's where we would have to get the water for, but there's no way to make a loop to get around once you're in there.
So if you want risk of sitting there out the stoops, that would.
Yeah, well, that would work, but the
If you
problem,
had- I know,
the problem
I'm saying if
is,
you could get
it's
it.
only a one-lane road there. If you know.
Yeah, at the entrances it is. The rest of it's 18 feet.
Well,
I've already measured it.
well, you are, okay, so a fire truck,
I know.
a fire truck is 8.5 foot wide.
Right.
So with the mirrors and stuff, so, you know, and if there's not solid shoulders on it, especially in the spring, you're going to be stuck.
Right.
And in fact, I mean, I've been back there plenty of times. It's washed out there on Signer Trail. So yeah, it can be a problem back there, and I've always always dreaded something happening back there. I mean, we'll do our best to do what we can with it.
Right.
But with the roads and the condition they are and
So if the
how-
roads were better, you would actually be, you'd
Yeah,
be
well,
well
yeah,
above
if the roads would be wide enough that you could
Okay.
drive past,
That's what I thought.
and, you know, and then it gets down to, you know, who's responsible for the roads, because
Right.
I know what's in the deeds and those, because my brother-in-law's owned property back there for a while. So, that's been the issue the whole time with Shawnee stuff.
Right.
I mean, that's why Carroll Alley was formed, that they
Right.
could straighten out some of the messes that they.
So I can literally like call my insurance company back and let them know that they do have fire. Because right now, State Farm, Hockley and O'Donnell, Adams County, like nobody's doing anything back there because they don't think, they were told that there's no fire protection back there.
Well, that's not the truth.
Okay, and that's all I wanted to know. So I can call them back and let them know.
I mean, we're gonna get a fire truck in there, and, you know, as long as we can catch it before it's
Right.
up through the roof.
Yeah, absolutely.
We had a, let's see, there on Wrist Trail, we had a bathroom fire that was up in the roof and we stopped it. So, yeah, there's fire truck, I mean, we can get our fire trucks there.
Right.
The problem is getting extra water.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
that,
not ideal.
yeah, and then some of the roads, and I forget which one it is, it was coming down through the middle, but you could barely get a fire truck through. I mean, we did.
That's Signal.
Huh?
That's Signal.
No, it's it's Splinter or one of those.
Oh,
No, it's one that comes back from James and comes
Yeah, that's, okay.
back through the middle.
That's winter.
I think that's Splinter. So in fact, we had a stove fire. So here we are driving the fire truck down, and here's another problem that we have is there's no reflective signs on the houses.
Nope.
And, you know, here we're driving down through there, and, you know, it's a little goat path, and we drive past this house. You know, the people standing out front, they don't wave us down or anything. We drive past and get down to a dead end. We had to back up. Oh, you see, this is where the fire was. I mean, you know, we can't tell, and the GPS doesn't work all the time, and our trucks, we do have laptops in there, but a lot of times the service is so bad that they don't work.
Right.
And so we're kind of, you know, they have to help us out a little bit, but you have to have, you know, because your mailbox, you know, might say I have my address on my mailbox, but that doesn't do us any good if you don't have something on your house.
Right.
Because we don't know, it's not like it was, well, whenever I started doing this 46 years ago in Lawrenceville, originally, you knew everybody. You knew everybody from here to there. You knew, oh, that's Ben Jones' farm, or this is that, or, you know, you knew everybody. We don't anymore. There's too much area for us to know, too many people. And we don't get back in there, you know, a whole lot. So, I mean, that's a big thing too, that they need to have their structures addressed so we can find you. Even, I mean, not only the fire company, but the ambulance is even worse yet, because most of the ambulance people aren't from the area anyway. They're depending on GPS and, you know, what county tells them where to go. And sometimes around here, if everybody knows, the GPS doesn't really take you where you should go. So, you know, but yeah, that's always been a fret for me all the years that I've been fire chief. I think it's about 12 now I've been this time around. So yeah, I mean, that's one of my heartburn areas that hopefully, you know, everybody is, you know, protects themselves. And the big problem is if there's ever a bad drought and the people don't realize how to burn fires anymore, how to take care of things, and starts a fire down at the bottom, and it's going to run over, and, you know, who knows how many houses might catch on fire. But there is fire protection there. We can get a fire truck there, and as long as it ain't through the roof, we'll get it you know, we'll do our best to get it put out. But the big thing is their big fire is
Yeah,
getting
you won't
water
get
back
it
before.
Yeah.
So that's that for that area.
All right, Chief. Anything else you have for us?
Yeah, I got a couple things.
Okay.
I'll go after last year's solicitation we sent out. We're actually $10,000 less than we were the year before. We are having a bunch of people that says they hadn't got their solicitation letters, and we checked and they were on the list that was sent out. So I don't know if it's a postal system issue or what, but there's a bunch of people said they didn't get their solicitation. So we might be sending out another reminder for solicitations for that funding. And then I don't know if everybody saw, we actually purchased, it's kind of a common, our old fire truck it's the first and second fire truck that Fairfield had. The first was a 1926 American and France chemical wagon. And for some reason, in 2 years, they took all the stuff off the first truck and put it on this Chevy. So it's a 1928 Chevy fire truck that's fully restored, and we purchased it. The guy didn't want all the money at one time, so we're purchasing on installments. But we're trying to have a fundraiser to pay for that, so it isn't firefighting funds that are used for that. So they're going to see the businesses, and they're going to go out, and we'll probably send a solicitation letter for that out. So it's $42,000 that we ended up paying for that. So it was something that we figured it needed to stay in Fairfield. The guy is getting old, and he was getting ready to get rid of it. We knew about it, and because last year was our 100th anniversary, we looked it up, and I found him, and he brought it up for open house and stuff. Due to the pandemic, we really didn't have much of a celebration for the 100th, so we're kind of working at that stuff this year also. But we've served the community for over 100 years. For this fire truck though, Gene Petcher said that he can remember as a little kid that fire truck actually came to his home place, and a pee-pee house caught on fire, and they put the fire out with that fire truck. So we have somebody that knows, and we don't have any pictures of that and or the original firehouses on Steelman Street. Seems to be no pictures of that either. We're trying to find any old families in the area that might have something like that. We're looking to try to fill out our history for that. And then the only thing else I'll say, I think it was 2 years ago or whatever, and I did bring up about the building standards that we had, and I asked for you guys to think about adopting this stuff. But the one thing we made a mistake on whenever we made these, we said you had to have 2 houses that the access stuff pit started, to say what access we needed. This year last summer we had an intern that needed to get some more college credits in the fire company, and he went around, and we got to recheck this, but there was 95 homes in our 45 square miles area that we can't get a fire truck to. We can get our special unit, which we designed that to do that, but there's 95 properties that we can't get a fire truck to because the lanes are too narrow, the trees are too close, or it's too growed over that we can't get a fire truck to. And these building standards do apply to them, but the problem is enforcement. It's just like I know every township has an ordinance. You have to have a reflective sign on your house, and nobody enforces it.
Right.
But that's, I'll make another pitch about the fire prevention standards, at least, the access and that sort of stuff, so that anybody building a new house, will have to It's just like some of the nice things is that we put in it. From the house, we want every 1,000 feet marked with a marker. So we know every fire truck has at least 1,000 feet of 5-inch one in the area. So we know where to start laying hose, that we're not going to come up short whenever we come to the house. Whenever these long driveways, because a lot of them, they're only one pathway wide, and you can't get off, so you got to lay a line down, and it might take several trucks just laying line to get the line to the property that you're trying to protect.
Okay.
So that's about it.
All right, well, we'll take that into consideration again on the fire standards, and we'll look into, like I said, some of these other things we talked about,
Okay.
the fire hydrant and all like that. I'll contact the landowner, because I know they contacted us.
Yeah, well, that's fine.
Especially for that one pond there, and then, like I said, I'll put out in the newsletter, next for June, if we could get any interest in other
Yep.
residents doing their fire.
Yeah, I mean, we'll come out and, check it out and make sure, especially if there's a pond we don't, is back in that we really don't know about.
Right.
Because we try to, pre-plan that stuff and put it on the box, on the address that there's a pond there and it is accessible, with so many feet. I mean, it was nice for this one because there's no elevation there. We actually had 7 hard sleeves that they sucked it up through. So if it would have been high, we probably couldn't have done it because it was pretty much level, that it worked fine. So it was very fortunate we had that, because I think they figured it was 46,000 gallons of water that we put on that house.
Well, thank you again for your time.
No problem.
We appreciate it.
Anytime you guys need anything from us, I think Mickey knows my phone number, and we're more willing to do whatever we can for any resident. I mean, in our territory. So, thanks you
Again, I
for
appreciate
calling, and like I said, need any more information, we got it. And any more questions, feel free to call me.
All right, thanks, buddy.
Yep.
I appreciate it.
No problem.
The next thing we have on the agenda is executive session, but I believe I'm gonna move that to the end of the meeting tonight, because I really don't wanna go into the executive session right now. Let's get through our agenda. Next thing will be public comments.
Yeah, I got one. So I got some issues with your article that you put out on the Post or whatever they call it, so we're claiming, which we just heard ourselves, that we can get fire trucks there. But what was more concerning to me was the statement that came from you that says, with no current source of funding available for the project, we're hesitant to use funds from all taxpayers for a project that will benefit only a small portion of our residents. So we don't mean, I guess we're lower class citizens. Safety of our residents is serious concern, yes, unless you live back on Rose Trail. And then the second one was in response to one of our residents expressing concerns over some roadways. I didn't say some roadways, I said bullfrog. The term on bullfrog at Stoops, I was very specific. I don't know why everything's so bland and out there for everybody to just kind of pick and guess, I guess, whatever. And why do we need a professional assessment? So if we're true road crews that are not going to be temporary or whatever, like you were supposed to be, why do we need an assessment? You can't tell that it's dangerous. I mean, it's a bus stop. A freaking bus stops right there.
Is that your comment?
I'm just asking you a question. You don't know.
I'm not answering the question.
Okay.
I'll answer that later on when we get to the road department.
Okay. We'll get there. Because I got more for that part.
Public comment is when you make your comments.
I know. There's a portion at the end that says public comment as well.
That's for new business.
I know, and that's what I'm going to talk about, new business.
It's not under new business. Roads are not under new business.
I know, I got something else to talk about. Maybe.
Okay. You done there?
I'm done with that.
All right. Any other public comments? Supervisor comments?
What? You have something to say to me?
Yeah, you're retarded.
Oh, yeah.
Supervisor, Sherry, don't let that happen.
No.
All right, supervisor comments.
No comment.
Brandon? Okay. All right, minutes for, March, the audit meeting for the road, and we also hit the road department. Did everyone have an opportunity to review those minutes?
I did.
Have a motion to approve the minutes.
Make a motion.
Second?
I'll second
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All right, the April 5th, 2022 meeting, did everyone have an opportunity to review those minutes? I have a motion to approve them.
Yep, so moved.
Second? Good, thank you. All right, treasury report. Did you have an opportunity to review the treasury report for April?
I did.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we approve the treasurer's report.
We can have a second.
I'll second.
Okay. All right, expenses and
We need
invoices.
to take a vote on that. There was a motion and a second. I don't think-
All in favor, aye.
Sorry.
Sorry. All right, thank you. Invoices for 4/6/22 to 5/3/22. Those are retroactive invoices. Did you have an opportunity to review those invoices? And if so, can I have a motion to approve them?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Payroll from 3/26/22 to 4/9/22. Retroactive by the coyotes. Do I have a motion to approve payroll?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All right, the payroll for 4/10 through 4/23, that's also rectified by Brian Lowe. I'll make a motion that we pay that.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Police Department report.
April 2022, we worked 303 hours, drove 2,078 miles, used 153.4 gallons of gas. We did have one misdemeanor felony arrest. We had 12 911 incidences, PSP number 4 calls. We were at 58 traffic citations, 9 warnings, and 5 faulty equipment cards. That was all in Liberty. In Freedom Township, we worked 25 hours, answered 3 911 incidences, wrote 50 traffic citations, and 17 warnings. Highland Township, we worked 25 hours, answered 5 911 incidences, wrote 12 traffic citations, and 5 warnings. The misdemeanor felony arrest we had was made by Officer Rusin, and it was a DUI. Car 2 is now back in service. The repairs were done on that except for the tow link warranty service, and I'll have an appointment here in May to have that done. And while I have that over at the Ford dealership, I'm also going to have it inspected and have an oil change done in it, and probably the tires rotated. In accordance with our police policy and procedure manual, body cam videos over 60 days old have been purged. We also participated in the drug take back at Carroll Valley. That was on April 30th, this past Saturday. I was actually over there and it went well until I had to leave to go take an accident. So they said that after I left it went well. They turned in all those drugs and they were taken up to Harrisburg for disposal, I think yesterday. So. Also in May 16th to June 5th of 2022, our department is participating in Pennsylvania's Occupant Protection Initiative. Basically, that's seatbelts. But we will be participating in that. Oh, I know what else. We finally did get I forgot to put this on here, but we finally did get our batteries. We ordered extra radio batteries at the road department.
Yeah.
Ordered some of those and chargers. They finally all came in. So, yeah, that was a nice surprise, I guess.
Okay.
And
How's Mr. Reason's
Um,
family?
pretty good, I think. Still a little touch and go, but
All right, well, thank you, Sherry, I appreciate that.
Mr. Barlow, I have a question. Chief got my curiosity up here. You said misdemeanor felony. Is that because of how many priors the guy had, his BAC, or was there an accident?
no, it was a DUI.
Yeah, but
DUI is always a misdemeanor.
Yeah, but you said misdemeanor felony.
It's slash felony, that's just
Oh,
the way
okay.
I listed it.
Oh, all right. Yeah, I was wondering what
No.
made that a
No,
felony.
no,
Okay.
no, it's not a felony, it's
Okay, all right,
it's
all
a
right.
misdemeanor.
I got you now. It's, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a misdemeanor.
All
It's
right.
just, I just lump them together like that because we
All
don't
right.
always have a whole lot of
Yeah. Thank you.
them. Yep, no problem.
Any other questions for the chief? Okay, we'll move on to the zoning. The first thing we have in zoning is the sewage enforcement. If you had an opportunity to review, as of May 3rd here, we had approximately 25 homes that either have not come or we have not received their certification from the hauler. We put this off now, this is there's a year, we're out of cycle already because of COVID, so we extended the initial cycle for 1 year. Now we're at 3 years out, and I believe we've given everyone an ample opportunity to pump their systems. So now we need to decide with the board, what are we gonna do from this point on with these 24. Do you have any suggestions?
Well, I'm sure they're well aware of it. The burden of proof is on them. It is a violation. I'm not sure what we should do or could do, but we need to get it cleaned up in more ways than one.
Well, they've been given 2 notices. They were initially given the 1-year extension that we voted on as a board. And then after that, we gave them notification that they were due by October.
The October date was the first due date, then we extended it to December, then we extended it to February, and then you said send everyone 1 more notice and we'll deal with those in April.
And that was
May.
one or 2 meetings ago. I think we extended it one
Yeah.
more.
Yeah, it was just weeks, yes. Again, you're right, until April, and then in April, you said 1 more notice, and now here we are today.
So we have 3 notices we put out.
3 extra notices.
Yes, 3 extra notices on the initial notice. Well, I talked to our sewer enforcement guy, and he does have, it is in the pumping ordinance and in the state ordinance that if they do not comply with, because this is not an ordinance that the township has implemented, this is a state ordinance, isn't that correct? That they're required to pump.
No,
No, it is run by, it is an ordinance that we adopted because the state has.
Because the state.
Has,
Right.
it's an act from the state, and we adopted an ordinance for it.
It's part of your act, the state
537.
required, yes, part of the act, the state required as part of your Act 537 plan that you have people pump. One of my townships, it's every 5 years, almost all other townships, it's every 3 years.
Right.
This is in some of my other townships, where people didn't pump, they had to have the SEO file the charges at the DJ's office, and, you know, I'm not aware of anyone who hasn't pumped after that happened. You know, so seems to work, and whether it'll work for all 25 of these, I don't know, but, you know, that's what some of my other townships have done in the past, for people who just, for some reason. And as it turns out, some people actually have pumped, but they just, I don't know if it's laziness or stubbornness, they just don't wanna turn it into the townships till
It's
they're
not,
actually.
it's not a resident's responsibility to turn it in, it is the haulers, and we've cleared those up over the past 3 months. We've contacted all the haulers with this list and said, have you actually?
Oh, so you
So
found,
we went above and beyond,
Oh, okay.
over and
All right.
over, we went to haulers directly in case they had pumped, and we did get calls from people on the first and second notice to say, this particular hauler has pumped us, and I said, okay, you tell me the date and the hauler, I will call them, don't worry about it. And
okay,
so we took the initiative to even track down this stuff for them, and this is the list we're left with. Okay?
well, that's what some of my other townships have done, you know, I don't know what else, you guys
Well-
are kinda at the end of your rope, I don't know what else you can do.
We are pretty much at the end of the road, so any recommendations from you?
I think they had plenty of enough time and enough notices.
So do you want to send them to the sewer enforcement officer to, write compliance letters or what?
I make that motion, exactly. I think we should.
Are we instructing him to
Do enforcement.
enforce,
Mhm.
So, and that would include filing,
file a charge?
complaining at the DJs, whatever, okay.
Enforcement notices,
So, Mr. Fryholt made the motion.
I
yes.
did. I'll second.
In favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
And I just wanted to note, Chairman Barlow, that's actually 11C under old business. I may have mistakenly given that to you later, so it could have mixed up your handouts.
No, okay. Fair enough. All right, the other one is zoning permits and monthly. So far, right now, we have, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 zoning permits that were placed for the month of April, totaling $280, for land use permits. So that's the total we have coming in. Now, the question I want to propose to the board tonight, that's all the zoning report that we have, is I've talked to some residents in their township, and they expressed questions about our land use permit process. And it seems that, to me, that we are now in the process of making everybody get a permit for everything. And it don't matter what it is. And I'm not totally in agreement with us managing or micromanaging our residents and their lands to that extent. You know, one thing is like they want to put and I'm just going to use an example, they want to put a drop shed from Lowe's on their property, they have to get a land use permit. I talked to Clem about this extensively this past week, and I asked him, I said, why would we care if they put a shed that's not on the foundation, it's just on a skid, anywhere on your property? What does that have to do with the township? And he goes, well, you know, it's really the setbacks and all this other stuff. Well, again, I don't know that it's the township's place to be out there policing if they set it on the property line or not. If the next door neighbor says, hey, you got that on my property line, that's something they're gonna have to take up and clear up themselves. That's not a township issue. Judy?
Well,
I know Judy said that might be.
There are specific ordinances that are considered accessory structures, and there are ordinances.
Most of the accessory structure that I'm reading is not contained to a shed that's not on a permanent foundation or permanently fixed to the ground.
I don't know that it specifies that.
well, I'll give you a comparison if I may.
Go ahead.
We have property in Huntington County. I just put a drop shed in. I checked with the township. Yes, you need a permit.
Mm-hmm.
How much was that permit? $90? I think it was. But they don't have any pumping going on with sewage. So you got, you know, we do pump ours about every 3-4 years. It's a light use, but we do it just because to save the sand mound and, you know,
Mm-hmm.
but, you know, that's a comparison. You know, they have in place, I'm not an advocate for it. I mean, my concern would be a setback, but that would be between the
It
landowners.
is between landowners, it's not our policing thing. It's
Right.
Not for us to police, that's I just think it's an issue that we're micromanaging everything that people do on their property. I think we're getting overreach.
Well, there's things like that that we could single out and change, can't we, Judy?
I mean, you're talking,
Well, Chairman, excuse me, but the Clem's, see, we adopted the Uniform Construction Code.
correct,
And Clem's say that, I thought that code required you to get a building permit for anything that's over 10 by 10.
anything over 1,000,
1,000 square feet.
Yeah, so that'd be 10 by 10.
10 by 10.
Yeah.
So that's under the building code, yeah, but we all,
10 by 10
Oh,
is
10 by 10 is 100 feet, that's right,
That's
10 by 10 is not 1,000, it's
Yeah.
100, yeah.
And
10 by 10 is
but
100.
that's a county permit.
No, it's a permit they'd have to get from Clem. It's a UCC, Uniform Construction Code, it's a building permit. So, whatever, they would have to get it from them, because they enforce the uniform
And
construction.
again, I asked him the question too, I said, are you gonna go out and measure this thing off of someone's property? He goes, well, no, not normally, so why would we charge him $100 if now he's gonna go out and look at it?
Well, like I said, it's in
I agree.
you know, it's in the construction code, like I said, anything greater than 10 by 10. Look, I'm not saying I agree with it, but I mean, you know, that's really the state law. This, just like this septic tank pumping, that's a state law. I'm surprised to hear that municipality. They must have something in with DEP, because just about every place else, you got a
Well,
pump.
Highland over here doesn't have it yet either. I think that has to do with some kind of changes that you make.
To your 537 plan, whenever you change
Right.
that, that's
And I
when you
think
got it.
what kicked it off here was the wormholes project, and they kicked the changes to the 537 plan, which then implemented the pumping program. And Highland over here right beside us, they don't have a pumping program.
Yeah. But getting back to the building permits, you know, if it's in the uniform construction code, I don't see how you can get out of it. Not requiring them to file a permit for that.
And that is 10 by 10.
Well, I mean,
Yeah,
It's 1,000 square feet.
well,
is it 1,000 or 100?
now,
It's 1,000.
it's
Is
the
it
thing, yeah,
1,000?
it's that-
Under 1,000, you do not need a building permit.
Okay,
Correct.
all right, well,
That's
then,
right. That's exactly right. That's under UCC. We have nothing to do with that. That's state, federal. That's
Okay.
not township.
so
And I
that,
said to Clem, I
so
said,
that-
anything over 1,000 feet, why were we making these people get a land use permit for a little a little garage they bought at Walmart? Or even someone, they get a pool, they get a swimming pool for the little kiddie pools, they gotta get a land use permit.
Well,
What?
that
Over
is-
24 inches. That's another UCC, that's not a township thing.
No, that's UCC.
So, but we're gonna charge them $100, a permit process through us. That doesn't go through us, that goes through,
yeah, but that's the state law, they enforce the state law for us. So, I mean, anything that's in the UCC, we're pretty much stuck with. Now, if it's 1,000 square feet, well then I don't know, Judy, do you know what size do we require a permit for in our ordinance? Or does it?
I think it's 1,000.
it's
Is
a
it
1,000.
1,000?
It's 1,000.
Well,
So I can put an addition
Well, so-
on my house as
Not on your house, that's a structural
a
change.
separate structure. Or
If
garage.
If you add it to your house, it's a structural change to your house.
Okay.
If it's standalone, it's different.
Well, there aren't many, I mean, there are some sheds that's a pretty darn big shed, 10 by 100. I mean, it's either long or 20 by 50. That's a big shed.
It's a garage.
That's
Yeah,
what not,
yeah.
and that
I
would
mean,
require a land use permit and a building permit from county. Absolutely, I agree with that. But these things are pre-done at Walmart or done by the Amish and you buy it for $1,000 and you haul it down here and dump it on your property, that's another, it's like, what, seriously? Okay, do you have any comments on these here a bit? Mr. I'm quiet? All right, under 1,000 square feet, no permit, over 1,000 square feet, has to have a permit. That's UCC.
Anything over 1,000? Or is it?
1,000 feet,
up to
1,000 feet and over.
1,000 feet?
and over.
999 is not. And that's,
That's what
we
I'm
used to
saying.
have that hanging over there on that board. Okay, but, because the thing is, I said to Clem, I said, you know, it gives the impression, because the township don't get any of this. These fees do not come to the township, and some of the residents think that that's what's going on.
No.
We cannot charge fees in any way, shape, or form that we're getting any revenue out of. This is all going to, PMCA, and I told him, I said, sometimes it seems to me, that what you're trying to do is that, well, everybody's gonna do to get a permit when you get $100. That's not right. That pissed me off. I'm gonna put a fence up, $100. I'm gonna put a doghouse up, it's $100. Say, really, Clint? You gotta be kidding me. And the thing too is, under the Farm Act, farmers are all exempt. If you got 10 acres or more, you don't have to do none of that.
Yeah, well, that's the right to farm act.
That's exactly it, right, the farmer. All right, I want to clarify that. Thank you very much. So, under zoning again, we have the Bullfrog Road violations. That is underway. It is going through the court system with the one property owner at 2650 So we'll wait to see what happens with that one.
I do have a comment. I was contacted by PMCA, and they're requesting that I give them multiple certified copies of the ordinance that they're using for the violation so that they can take it to court.
Seriously.
Well, I think the judge, do you ever run into that, Sherry, where he wants an actual copy of the ordinance?
Well,
Not a copy, a
Well,
certified.
when you go into your hearing like that, you have to present, like if it's the crimes code or the vehicle
An
code.
original
He has that. But if it's an ordinance violation, then it's always good if it's not something you take in there all the time to present the ordinance to the defense attorney and also to the judge.
Well, can he print that off? 'Cause
No,
he's-
he wants a true and attested copy, so that just means I'm gonna have to provide that. It's not, I'm just letting you know I was contacted to do that.
Okay.
And Ms. Lisco may ask you again, or have to contact you, since I know there's a little wording that you need to put that on there to redo the ordinance for true and attested copy,
Right,
where I just sign off on it and
Yes.
seal it. There's specific wording or something for that.
true and attested copy.
That's it.
Yep.
Do I write it directly on a copy of the ordinance?
Yeah, on
Because I
on
don't
the
have-
first page, just write true and attested copy, then put a line, then print your name underneath.
Sign it? Okay.
And, no, and underneath that, write Secretary, Liberty
Right.
Township, and then sign.
So I'll just print copies, do that, and then put the seal, she wants the seal on there, obviously.
Yes, yes.
Does she want the same thing for the 3257?
I don't think that one's,
That
the one
3257
that's
is the one he's having a hearing on.
Is
I'm
that-
pretty sure.
I can't remember, which is the one with the trailer, I'm now all mixed
The
up.
one with the trailers in the 2600 block.
Okay.
That's 2650?
That was in there, I don't know where.
Yeah, that's the trailer. The other fiasco is the one out near Girl Scout Road. That's
The only thing I had, and you can give him that, that's what he needs. The thing is we hire them to do the job. But it seems like we're doing the job for them all the
Well,
time.
I think particularly that, I've had that problem in the past with the police department, not this particular police department, but when, the other chief was here, whoever the magistrate they're taking to, they wanted true and attested copies, because they were trying to take my ordinance book and I wouldn't let them, because the magistrate wanted to actually physically see the actual original copy. So I think that's just, that happens sometimes in the courts.
The Brent Road, unpermitted earth, that's being handled by Land Conservation, so, they did put a stop work order on that, and now that's in the hands of Rusty Ryan. So, as they give us updates, we'll keep the township updated on that. The 140 Airedale Trail, the man did move the bus that he had set in the middle of the roadway, but he still has the seats and everything thrown in his property covered up.
Camouflage.
Oh yeah, it's camouflage with an orange top. Let's see, the 12 lines, the 12 Harbaugh Valley unpermitted buildings and septic tanks. Gil Pecorelli's supposed to be going out and taking a look at those. He was told by last month at our meeting that we voted on that he was to do that. As of right now, he has not. Is that correct?
That's correct, he did notify me this morning, he hasn't gotten to that yet.
So we may have to give him a second push.
We can notify him when we're notifying him to file these charges.
Yeah. Okay. Next thing on that is the roads. We used 54.6 gallons of unleaded fuel, 23 gallons of diesel, 38 gallons of off-road, 739 miles in the pickup truck, and 104 in the 550. Made a trip over to York this past month, picked up the signs, the new signages that we had made that we voted on last month. We have flagger signs, 2 of those, work zone ahead signs, 2 of those, one lane road ahead, 2 of those. We have 12 new cones. We have paddles that are now lightweight constructed, that way you can haul around these heavy paddles. And we have 10 of the 24-inch red flags that are now DOT qualified for flagging. That was on the 13th. Met with Low Bar on the bridge construction. I gave you guys the low bar quotes that they gave us. This is for the old Waynesboro Bridge. Now, these guys actually are a bridge construction company. And it's $30,900 for the one that they gave us, and that's for the patching the top of it and putting the membrane on. And the other one to do the fascia work is $36,700.
That was that stuff that needs straw on.
Correct, yes. And I told him we just wanted these just to see what what we were looking at, but we also, and this is getting a little ahead of us, I did put the bridge out as far as the paving part out for bid under our state bid packet to see if we got a better price. And of course, since it's out for state bid, if they don't bid on the state bid, we can't even take those bids because they got to be bid pack. So anyhow, that's for your information. Like I said, the patching, $36,600 is a lot of money to patch that bridge. So,
Oh, that doesn't include all the other work, blacktop.
nope, that's just patch the bridge.
Totally.
So, I researched that, and they have what they call a professional vertical and overhead concrete patching. It's $187 for 5 gallons. I think we're gonna order that. Well, I'm gonna make a motion that we order 5 gallons of it and try it on ourselves. And if it works, then we can get more as we need it. Because I think we can do it for less than $36,000. So now I'm making a motion that we go forward with this professional vertical overhead concrete patch. Any discussion?
You're just gonna get 5 gallons, see how far it takes and how it goes.
Yes.
I'll make a motion that we make that investment.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Let's see here. I met with Marvin Kay. He's from LTAP. He is a Pennsylvania PennDOT engineer. He came out and met me here at the township, and we looked at 2 locations in the township. One at the intersection of Water Street and McLaughlin, and he did a survey of that area, took a bunch of pictures, did a lot of measuring. He is going to contact the state with that site distance problem that we have there. That is a state road, and he said that's a state issue, not a township issue. So I was glad that he was able to address that, and especially since he works for PennDOT, and he's one of the upper management engineers. At the same time, he was here with me, he met with me, and we went over to Bullfrog Road and Stoops Road, and he did an evaluation of that. He did the elevation of the road, the curvature of the road, and he found that there's no issue with the road if the residents or the people traveling the road stay within the correct speed limit. The only recommendation, and it's just a recommendation, that if the landowner at the corner there, Mr. Fireball, would take out a tree or a bush that's right along the road, that would be the only thing he would say that needed to be done there at that intersection. I did speak with Mr. Fireball, and Mr. Fireball has agreed to take it out. So there you go. I met with Will, and we discussed a waiver to enter his property and also the other property across the street. I met with him today and got a waiver from him for us to start prep work for the bridge project. We're putting the stone underneath the bridge, doing this work here on the bridge, and he was gracious enough to give us permission to enter his property. The agreement is that we also, any of the wood that's on the property, we're going to cut up in fire length size and take it up to his place and place it where he wants it at. And then once we finish any disturbance there, if we need to, we'll reset seed in there. And I did talk to Bruce, our backhoe operator today. He said that bank you were talking about, because that's not a problem whatsoever. Okay. So we appreciate you guys giving us permission to do that there. Like I said, we're going to start prep work probably next week, we're not gonna really, get into the full-blown part of the stone and stuff until after school's over, which is June 1st. That way we won't have to worry about buses traveling back across there and shutting the road down, so we'll wait until June for that. But we can clean up all four corners, because we have permission from all landowners, all the way around the bridges, to enter their property, to do what we need to do to work on that bridge. Met with Chad, like I said, I already did that yesterday, bar. We mowed this last week for 2 days. The loop has now had its first mowing. Bruce was out today and started doing Petra Road and Sanders, and he went over and was starting the Bullfrog Road area. And we also have brought Richie, gotta make sure it's right. We brought Richie back. Richie's back with us, and he started, yesterday we started pulling snow markers along the roadway, and we started ditching work on Winshaw and on Stoltz Road in Boyer. What else? Okay, that was that. We did that. And that was Mr. Fruitaro, I told you that. Put a sign up on Winshaw, put signs up on Winshaw Road yesterday for the flooded roads closure signs. Now that we have a problem out there and those roads the bridges get flooded over, instead of going out and putting barricades up and cones up, we have signs, we'll put the signs down in place. And that's that. And matter of fact, if one of the supervisors or I'm not in the area, even the chief, all we have to do is just unscrew a bolt and just close the road. That's it. But we do call county, making sure they're aware that the road is closed. Hope you won't have to do that many times, but talking about plasters today. Our backhoe, yesterday we discovered that the backhoe has a major issue with the controller module in it. When you go to let the boom out, it drifts back by itself. And so I have an appointment with plasters for next Monday to come out and service and to look at the problem and hopefully fix that.
What about the pins on the bucket?
They're gonna do that, they're gonna service it and everything.
Okay.
Met with John Wentz. John Wentz lives up here on Stillman Marker Road. He expressed an issue with the water running out on the roadway at his property there and running down past the other place. As I discussed with him, the bigger problem is that that's Carroll Valley. It's not really the township on that side of the road. We are responsible for maintaining the road. We can't enter into a Carroll Valley resident property and do any work. That's Carroll Valley. Now, he has said he has spoken with Carroll Valley, and Carroll Valley told him it was our property.
Well, what about the right of way? If we're taking care of the road, what about?
No, we can't do that. Carroll Valley has to get they have to get the permission for any work done on that, on the property lines going down through. Plus, the problem too, as I said to John, that pipe that's going across that driveway is clogged. We don't go around and clog anybody's pipes.
Oh, I know that. Yeah.
And he goes, oh, I said, we start unclogging one person's pipe, we gotta go around township and unclog everybody's pipe. I ain't starting that, ain't happening.
We have enough.
So he said, I told him, I said, you need to go back to Carroll Valley and say, listen, this is Carroll Valley. I have no problem taking Bruce up there with the backhoe and digging a ditch down along that side of the road. But Carroll Valley's gonna give us permission. We're not touching it, and it's Carroll Valley gives us permission. That is their right of way. That's not our right of way. Because they own half the road.
Which have?
They own the half of their other side. Never mind, you own the other half. So anyhow, so that looks like something we're going to try to address, because like I said, John's a nice guy, so is the rest of the people up there on the Carroll Valley side, and if we do maintain that road, have a road maintenance agreement with Carroll Valley, but we have to get those, just like with Will here, we went in and got permission to enter in on our property.
Does that road agreement address that particular part of that?
Nope,
Oh,
it's
just
road upkeep and maintenance, that's it. And things like from 1977, it's old, but anyway. All right, I'm gonna move on here. CPR class on the 16th, don't forget, we got it scheduled 16th at 8:30. It is open. If others would like to attend, they can surely do so. It's $25 for the CPR class, and also first aid. I'm meeting with New Enterprise tomorrow to go over the road projects. I did that one there.
Have they, who else bid on that besides you?
Well, New Enterprise is meeting with me tomorrow to go over the road bridge bid proposal. It has been sent out to 5 different paving companies. This is the first one that's contacted me to come in and meet with them. They have until the 10th of the month to get us back. What time is it, the bid opening?
There's actually 11F in your packet, if you wanted to look at that.
Okay, yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there on that. All right, so Bruce and them's back. And so please watch out for these dogs as they're out on the road. Everybody hits them. Because they will be out weed whacking and taking care of roads. All right, other than that, I am going to move on from the road department to planning commission.
As you can see in the agenda, we did not have a meeting in April, and so far there are no applications or submissions for May. The May meeting, if it is held, will be on Wednesday because the primary is on Tuesday and the building will be used for that. Just as a matter of interest, the people who applied for the hangar down on Pitcher Road, the Thomases, that was approved, and they still have not brought the final paperwork in for signature, and they have 90 days.
Okay.
I'm done.
Thank you. Did Mr. Roquette go to the solar plant?
I don't think that is.
It hasn't, it's next week, I think.
Yeah.
He's registered though.
Oh, he is going to go?
Yeah,
Okay. Secretary Treasurer report.
I have nothing.
Oh, nice. All right, under old business, we have the cable franchise contract. Mr. Lisco?
I haven't had a chance to get in touch with that Chris and Richie yet. We have till August, so I will get to it soon.
Okay. Codification and zoning hearing
The
schedule.
Hearing is scheduled for next month, June 7th, so hopefully we'll have everything back by then. Sure will.
Okay, septic pumping program inspection compliance, we've already dealt with that. Consider a request from the Fairfield Fire Department's COVID relief. Bobby, we tabled that last month. What is your thought?
We have a lot in this township that needs to be done. How much did we give them so far this year?
$17,000 plus.
Yeah.
Now, we may take that on the hot fire hydrant thing. We'll have to see about that.
Yeah, we need to look into that.
Yeah, if we can put some dry hydrants through the township, I think that'd be great.
I think that would be a real asset to the community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can't put fire hydrants in, but we can put dry hydrants in. It doesn't mean there is.
Yeah.
All right. So that's, I know.
No.
So, is that your response to that? No, not at this time or something, or whatever you want to respond? Are you responding? Or no to actually responding?
Well, I like to respectfully decline.
Okay, I'll draft something up for you to look at, so the board is
Yeah.
respectfully declining at this time.
At this time.
But you are you definitely, you might want to say they're going to consider using,
At this time, as well.
yeah, but they're going to consider using the COVID funds for the dry hydrants.
Right.
Okay, now the other, well,
Yeah.
I'll draft something up, generally with that.
Yeah.
Okay, and have you look at it.
Let me know when you have that done, like I said,
Yes,
word sent out.
All right.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I'll second your motion. On favor?
Aye.
So the status request for the traffic sign at PA 16, I did go out and draw up. You have a drawing, official drawing, each one you have in your packet. The state requested this, the sign placement is the same as before. If you put it along state roads, it's got to be 400 feet prior to the road in both directions. And you have to put on what the sign is going to say. So you have a copy in your packet of what we submitted to the state. So now the state has 45
30 to 45 days, I can't remember.
45 days, and they'll respond back either yea or nay. If we do, and they say yes, then we'll put those signs up. And the sign's gonna say, no trucks over 45 feet on Orchard Road ahead. There'll be one sign on the east side and one on the west side. of the road.
Is that gonna be except for local deliveries or just period?
Except for local roads, just like the other ones.
Okay.
Alright. On road bids, as I said, is gonna be on, the 10th
Of May,
of May.
12/30.
We advertise from the 19th to the 26th. AAA Paving, American Paving Fabrics, C.E. Williams, Fayetteville Contractors, New Enterprise, and Thomas Wells were all sent bid packets and contacted by email. As I said, tomorrow I have a meeting with New Enterprise.
A question.
Yeah.
American Paving Fabric Incorporated, is that something other than blacktop or,
Whatever they bid on,
okay.
they're the ones that did, roads last year, remember them? They're the ones, well, we had Kinsley, and Kinsley set it out to,
Oh, they subbed that, okay.
yeah. They did Brent Road, they did
Yeah.
Irishtown.
Yep.
Yeah, actually, instead, what we did this year, Kinsley most certainly can bid, but I went right straight to the horse's mouth instead of going through Kinsley, I went straight to American Paving today. You guys want to be paying this year, this will be,
Here's your opportunity.
here's your opportunity, that's right. All right, that's on the new business, isn't it?
The bid opening is
12/30, May 10th.
12:30.
12/30, May 10th.
Yes.
I may not be here, I may have to do that by phone.
Okay. All right, we're going to executive session for about 10 minutes at this time.
7:19.
Okay. Guys, would you join me in the office? You need to help you with that.
No, you can't bend over that far.
No, I'm fine, you know.
You sure?
No, I bet you're sick and tired of this after all day, aren't you, girl? Hey, Wes, did she give you a break today?
Yeah, I had a break driving from here to Hershey,
That was it.
well, we had a couple breaks in class, like, I don't know, usually classes that give you a break every hour.
Now, was this like for police work?
Oh, yeah, this was,
How often do you have to do that kind of stuff?
well, like, to keep up our MOPEC certification, which is what allows us to be a cop.
Mm-hmm.
That's municipal police commission, whatever, education and training. You have to take 16 hours worth of furthering education type stuff or updates every year. And it used to be we had to go to the class every year. And it used to be we had to go to the classroom. You wouldn't talk about falling asleep. And I guess everybody bitched, and then so they finally said, okay, we'll do it online, if you wanna do it online.
Mm-hmm.
So you can choose to do it online, or you can choose to go do it in the classroom right now. This year, they added, like 3 hours has to be, it's not really use of force, it's, handcuffing techniques is what they're.
They have something different after all these years?
Well, yeah, because of all the national use of force issues. So there's a mandatory use of force, module that you have to take online, and then after you've done taking that and you pass it, then you have to take hands-on use of force course. I think it's 3 hours, and it may only be an hour and a half, I can't remember what it is. But it has to be from a certified instructor through the state of Pennsylvania through MOPEC.
Oh.
So a lot of the departments have sent, one of their officers to one of these classes, and then they have to be approved by, like, MOPEC. They have to go to the class, probably on how to teach.
Yeah,
it's something that goes back to 1941 or something. And when they started here, I guess the board of supervisors voted not to pay social security for their police chief.
Yeah, Price Fonzie.
So, yeah, I'm sure it was.
Yeah.
And
That's what I was showing.
so, I mean, the social security lady explained it to me that the board of supervisors would have to reverse that and prove that they would take social security out of my paycheck, and then the township would be responsible for their portion also. Because the township is,
Yeah. They pay some.
yeah, I guess. Yeah, so I'm not even getting that. Just get the paycheck, you know?
Now, how long has your husband going to work? Does he, how long has he been doing it? As long as you?
See, he started out police work. He started out as a part-time dispatcher and a part-time police officer. Then he went full-time as a police officer, so he part-time as a dispatcher.
Mm-hmm.
Then, he was full-time as the chief of police up in Hydrants Township. And then he left there. He was vested, but he wasn't there 25 years. So he wasn't gonna get a full pension, but he was gonna get his pension. He's already collecting that pension.
Oh.
But then he's been in county for I forget how many years, and he can actually retire under whatever he's got there at the age of 60. But he gets more money once he stays to 62.
Might as well stay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Yeah, 2 years, I mean, that's still young.
yeah, so that's 62. Plus he's got 2 more years to go. So,
Yeah, that's the truth. Thank you, guys, for waiting. Appreciate that. All right, I'd like to read during the meeting, 7:28. We had an executive session to discuss an employee matter and then a legal matter that the township is dealing with right now. So that's put away. Put away. All right, the next thing here is to move under new business. Do I have any comments under new business?
Yep.
Okay.
Alright, so, I'm gonna go with I guess Mr. Lisco, you, in an article with the Gettysburg Times in May of 2019, made a comment that your supervisor pay does not make you an employee of the township. Supervisors are the boss, so don't get sick days, vacation time, or employee benefits, according to Lisco. So according to the State Ethics Committee, conflict or conflict of interest.
I want to stop you for a minute.
Yeah.
That's not under new business. That's not on,
It's
the only thing you can comment.
So who's on road crew? Are you
The only,
not on road
listen,
crew?
the only thing,
Are you two on road crew?
listen, you're not listening,
I'm
please.
asking, what?
I'm trying to explain.
Okay.
The only thing you may come to comment on now is one of these agenda items, A through E, nothing else.
Okay. So who's on this?
There's nothing.
Nothing on there?
Did you see what the agenda says on
I
it?
did. I read it.
Okay,
I can wait till next month and we can do it again. That's fine.
that's fine,
It's all good.
that's fine.
I'll do it. See you next month.
All right.
Roll on, buddy. Roll
So,
on. See you next
the
month.
road department has Ricky Haywood came back in the township as a seasonal part-time, and we're gonna raise his pay from $16.50 an hour to $17 an hour flat. I'll make a motion for that.
I'll make that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We will inform Ricky tomorrow. That will start next pay period.
Okay, after this pay period ends, so.
Yeah, because I don't think we can't start it next
Start,
cycle.
We don't
start
rush
fresh,
that.
yeah.
Okay, fine, next pay period, thank you.
COP grant, that is the grant that Ruzen put together, and I think he put a packet in each one of your boxes, and hopefully you had an opportunity to review that, or will have an opportunity to review that. That is to hire a full-time police officer if the grant was that 75% of the wages and the benefit packet would be paid through this grant for a 3-year program. at the end of the 3 years. The fourth year, it comes back to the supervisors, and the township would have to go the next year with the grant. Again, he filled out the paperwork for that. There's no guarantees on the grant on that, but that's what that is.
Actually, can I can I say something about that?
Sure.
We haven't filled that grant out yet. We're just asking permission to go ahead and fill that grant paperwork out. If we get the grant, and it's something that the township decides, no, we don't want, we don't have to take it. But the deadline for that, it actually was just released, and there are 2 different deadlines you have to meet. And the first deadline, I think, sometime in May, to get the first part of it in. So basically, all I'm asking is that the board gives permission for us to go ahead and apply for that grant, because if you don't give permission, there's no reason for us to waste my time or his time getting all the information together and applying for it. So again, I'm not asking you tonight to commit to hiring another officer. If
Yeah,
we
because I
get
have
it-
questions, I really do.
Sure, yeah. All I'm saying is that we can apply for it. If we apply for it and we're granted it, then you guys can feel free to say, yeah, you know what, it's not something we want. But it's something we need to move on now, if we're even gonna consider it.
Okay.
Yeah, I see here on the COPS fact sheet, it does say, the first part of the application by June 9th,
Okay, I
Seven.
couldn't remember if it was May or June.
8 PM.
Okay.
Eastern Standard Time, to be
Yeah.
exact. It's 7:59. And with that, having said that, I'll make a motion that we'll ask you, Bruce, to proceed with
Okay.
the grant application.
I'll second that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Steve, property owner regarding a lot addition deed requirement, we are tabling that. We are setting up a meeting with county and with the adjoining part, and also the planning board, to address that particular issue.
We don't have a date set for it.
No, I have to contact everyone.
Yeah, she got a comment on that. All right, the other one we had on here is a letter from a property owner that has bought a piece of property up on Terry Lane. Some of you are hoping you guys have an opportunity to read the letter that she wants. Did you have an opportunity to read the letter? I did. Did you read the letter? That's okay. Did you, did? Okay, she is asking the township if we would let her put a camper or a temporary, looks like one of those little tiny house things on this particular property. And she sent us a letter requesting that. I believe under our land subdivision plans, we cannot allow this.
I would certainly think so.
Plus, the residents of Terry Lane would probably be pissed
We would open up
if
the
they,
box.
somebody pulls a camper in there and decide they're gonna have dog roll. So,
Yeah,
so, I'm gonna make a motion that we say no.
I'll second that.
On favor?
Aye.
All right. I have been working on bid packets for insurance companies. I sent it out to 4 different companies. I've been in contact with one today, and they've asked for more information. And so we did send that information out, and we may end up having a meeting here with them to go over just the buildings, the equipment, the tools, and stuff like that, because like I said, we're trying to shop around for insurance, see if we can get a better price on our whole insurance packet.
Question, did they have to be a Pennsylvania company?
Oh, yeah. Mr. Liska, that's a question for you.
Insurance provider for our township for various things, for our basic insurances.
I know for performance bonds they do. I think all they have to be is authorized to do business in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
So you can be from a Delaware corporation as long as you're authorized to do business in PA. It's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, and I haven't looked at it in a while, but I'm pretty sure that's it.
Okay. Well, that's what's going on. That's not an item we're gonna bid on anything tonight. It's just to make you aware that I have sent out to 4 different insurance companies, and they're preparing bids, and they've been notified that they have until June 3rd. We have September the 3rd, I think, is when our insurance policy
Yes.
is, comes to an end. So hopefully we can get, a cheaper insurance. I don't know if we will or not, but we're gonna try.
What are you using, the limits of coverage that we currently have in place?
Well,
Yeah.
what we did is we sent our current, policy to
without
them,
the
Yeah.
pricing.
and, they're doing a comparison to that, and then they're supposed to come back with quotes.
Same deductibles, blah, blah.
Yeah, that's
Everything's
exactly.
set. Yeah.
Alright,
And if we wanna make any adjustments, we can do that, but
yeah.
right now, this was just, everybody's on the same page. This is what we currently have, can you give us a price on this current coverage that we have? Yeah, so we'll see how that goes. Other than that, is there anything else the supervisors have?
No, I make a motion, we adjourn. You good?
No, second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I'm good. Thank you guys for coming, we really appreciate it.